Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 30 of my favorite 30 guitarists of all time. We're doing this each and every day here in the month of September 2024, picking our favorite 30 guitar players across all genres. I need to say that, but then people kind of take me literally. They go, well, when I saw these comments yesterday on the final vocalist pick and plus honorable mentions, and a whole bunch of people are like, well, Pete, you said across all genres, yet you mostly listed prog, hard rock, metal, and classic rock and fusion. I mean, not fusion and classic rock singers. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of what we do here on the channel. And that's the music I like, right? So, because people are like, well, why didn't you pick like Sinatra or Elvis or Tom Jones or Ella Fitzgerald? And all this? Well, because they're not my favorite singers, right? It's like you got to pick your favorites. But because you, the viewers, also play along and put your comments in the floor, it's open to anybody who wants to play along to pick their favorite singers across all genres. So it's like that's kind of what we do. But I'm going to pick my favorites. That's why it's called favorites, right? It's not the best because there were a lot of people that were like, I can't believe you didn't put these singers, but yet they have these singers. These guys are certainly better than those. I'm like, there is no better. This is not all about better. Same thing this month. There's probably going to be guitar players that are not on my list that people are going to be up in arms. I can't believe you didn't pick this. This guy is the greatest of all time or one of the originals. It's like, well, that's all fine and dandy, but they're my favorites. Please play along, pick your favorites, because if all you're going to do is complain about what I picked or didn't pick, that's not the purpose of this whole thing, right? I'm not proclaiming that these are the best guitar players of all time. These are my favorites, right? And there were a lot of people who were like back and forth about the people I forgot or I didn't pick. I thought you liked this band and you didn't pick this singer. Guys, it was only 31 days in the month. I can only do 31 picks, and I can't do 150 honorable mentions because that takes away from the honorable mentions, right? So yes, there's some that I kind of forgot that probably would have made the honorable mentions. Maybe could have been in my top 31, but and no disrespect to Zeppelin and Robert Plant. I love Robert Plant, but I just maybe like 31 other people better or more, right? It's a personal thing. I love Plant. I love John Anderson, right? They didn't make my list. It is what it is. You can't fit everybody. Can't include everybody on honorable mentions list. I like tons and tons of bands and tons of singers. It's the purpose of this is not to name every single singer on the face of the earth that I've ever listened to that I really like. And as far as like the female singers go, Ann Wilson made my list, but none others did. At least none others made my main list, right? I did a whole monthly series last year on my favorite female singers, which very few people watch, by the way. So for everybody complaining I didn't have enough female singers on my list, I tend to prefer male singers. That's just me, right? It's no disrespect to anybody else. I like lots of female singers. They're just not among my favorites because I prefer the guys. That's just the way it is. So anyway, let's move on. So we're going to, and again, I'm going to say last month was hard. This was almost ridiculous. I had a huge list of guitar players that I was trying to pick from. And I really did not want to go back and rewatch my 30 favorite guitar players that I did like a number of years ago, because that turned into a whole, it was supposed to be 30 and I named like 50 or 60 and I just kept going on and on and on and on and on. That was a few years ago. So I figured, let me do it fresh. Let me not watch that. But then, I have to pick out the 3 albums that are, I think feature their best guitar playing and then the favorite guitar solo. This was really hard. I worked on this for hours and hours and hours, and I'm like moving people out, moving them back in, and I'm still even looking at my list and looking at my honorable mention list. I'm like, oh man. So let me just tell you, this was excruciatingly hard for me as someone who loves guitar players and has so many favorites. Again, I can't name everybody. I can't fit everybody. I'm trying to, the way I tried to put this list together, because there's a lot of like guitar players that have come out in more recent years that I love, but I don't have a hell of a lot of history with, right? I've only been into them for a couple of years, maybe an album or 2 or 3. So there's going to be a lot of like guys who have just come out on the scene in the last couple of years that aren't going to make my list, but I really dig a lot, right? Maybe 5 years down the road, we do this again. You might see some of these guys start showing up in my list. But for now, I'm going with like historically. I've been listening to music, since the early mid '70s, right? So I'm trying to go with those guitar players that have really meant a lot to me over the years, right? Those are the ones who I'm picking, right? I have some that have meant a lot to me in the last 2, 3, 4 years, but I got to go with the ones that have the long history with me. So, okay, that whole long preamble aside, let's get into this. So today, let's bring to the stage. We just lost him fairly recently. He's amazing. I absolutely love him. And I think he's probably one of the most underrated players of all time. He comes in at number 30 for me. Let's bring to the stage here none other than Mr. Dicky Betts, right? Of course, from the Allman Brothers Band and great Southern and solo artist and whatnot. Dicky, just such a great original player. Unfortunately, early on in his career, overshadowed by the late great Duane Allman, the other half of the guitar team in the Allman Brothers Band. I think that on those first few albums, Duane kind of got all the spotlight was on him, right? Meanwhile, Dicky just kind of kept his mouth shut and did his thing very, very fine. But really, it wasn't until I think Duane passed away that Dicky really, really rose to the forefront. And then everything going forward, Dicky kind of became the man, right? Even when he was paired with other guitar players, even much later on in the Allman Brothers reunion, Dicky still was the monster that I think he always was, but he just needed to come out of his shell. So this was really hard, picking the 3 albums next to impossible. So I tried to think of it. It's like, all right, well, my gut was to automatically go with the first 2 Allman Brothers Band albums. And then I was like, yeah, but the issue with that is like, I think Dicky still hadn't really found his footing yet. He's done some fine playing on there, but to me, those albums are they're more Duane albums. And so I was like, so I didn't pick them, but then I was like, well, but everything after that, there's lots to choose from. So that's ultimately kind of what I did. So I went with Brothers and Sisters first. All right. Because this, to me, this is this is after Duane has gone. Dicky's kind of like the guitar player in this band now, right? Wasted Words, Ramblin' Man, Southbound, Come and Go Blues. Jessica is one of his signature tracks. So good, he's amazing in that. I think this is the Dicky Betts finally coming into his own. I think on this particular record, it's really, really good. And then I'm gonna go fast forward to the reunion stuff because I think that Dicky was just so confident around this time, and then he had this guy Warren Haynes joining him in the band that only I think pushed him even further. So for me, I'm gonna go 7 Turns. I think there's some fiery playing from Dicky on this album. So, good, clean, fun, Let Me Ride, Low Down, Dirty, Mean. Then you get the bluesy stuff like Loaded Dice, Gambler's Roll, True Gravity is amazing. The title track, just Dicky and Warren just doing their thing. But, at this point in time, you when you hear Dicky and Warren, their styles are fairly different and they complement each other so much. But I really think that Warren was just a shot in the ass or a kick in the ass for Dicky. And he's amazing on this album, as he is on the follow-up Shades of Two Worlds. Again, End of the Line, Bad Rain, Nobody Knows is just absolutely epic. Kind of Bird, the two of them just doing all this cool kind of bluesy, jazzy stuff. Come On In My Kitchen, they just rip on that. Desert Blues, so good. And those Gibson guitars, man, Les Paul's doing them back and forth, so good. So, and then to pick my favorite performance, again, I'm going to do it a few times this month because it's inevitable, but I try not to pick too many like live cuts because to me it's like the greatest performances are always on the live album. So I try to sometimes stick to the studio, but I think this could be either or. In fact, probably the live album is a little bit better choice, but I'm going to go with Blue Sky from Eat a Peach. But I think more importantly, I'm going to go with Blue Sky from the early 80s live album First Set, where I think Dicky just does this extended solo on Blue Sky, which is just like it's beautiful. It's soaring. It's so melodic. I mean, even the studio version is just absolutely amazing. To me, I was almost going to pick Jessica, but Jessica is basically like a whole song solo, whereas Blue Sky, it's a regular kind of like almost like laid back kind of like country rock track, and then Dicky just comes in with those great tones. It's so amazing. It's absolutely magical. And that was Dicky Betts, just a magical, super melodic player with a signature sound, a lot of emotion, fiery, and he could do the slow, beautiful stuff too, man. And he can jam and he can wail, right? That was Dicky Betts. So yeah, That is my pick. So we've got Blue Sky as my favorite performance, and then Brothers and Sisters, Seven Turns and Shades of Two Worlds are my three favorites, featuring his guitars. But again, you could pick anything. You can pick the Fillmore, you can pick the first two Almonds. I mean, it's like they're all great. Dicky Betts was amazing, but in a hard choice, I had to go with these three, just strictly for the guitar playing. Right, that's what I'm going for. I've got some questions from people. It's like, well, Pete, how do we do this? It's like, what about? Like Melanie, I saw your note late last night about, what about singers who also play guitar? We're trying to go for guitar. Sure, these guitar players can sing too, but this has nothing to do with vocals. This is all about their guitar playing on these albums, and then our favorite guitar solo that just moves you the most, right? That's what it is. So it's like they could be guys who just play guitar. They could be singers who also play guitar, but it's all about their guitar skills, right? The riffs, the compositions, the solos, the guitar playing on our three picks have to be the ones that you feel is some of their best playing on any album. And then of course that one performance. Again, I'm going with solos. You can go with your favorite guitar riff or whatever in the performance. So it's totally up to you. Do whatever you like. So yeah, Dicky Betts is my pick for today. See you tomorrow. Sorry, this one's a little bit longer, but got to kind of get the whole series rolling, right? And got to kind of put to rest the vocalist one, set expectations for this one. And again, guys, there's no right or wrong answer here. There's lots of legendary guitar players. Pick your favorites. These are favorites. These are not best, right? These are not most legendary, most influential, are favorites. And it can be from any genre. So spoiler alert, I'm not going to pick rockabilly guys. I'm not going to pick Chicago and Louisiana blues guys, right? I'm not going to pick classical guys. I'm going to go with my favorites, right? They could be hard rock, blues, rock, metal, fusion, jazz, whatever, right? But we're picking our favorites. There's no right or wrong answer. This is not best, right? This is just the ones we like the most. And if your favorites don't make my list, please don't be offended, right? Because I'm not here to pick your favorites. I'm here to pick my favorites. So I'm not just here to validate the ones that you like. That's not how this works. We all pick the ones we like, right? We all have our favorite things of everything. So, but the fun thing about doing the show, it's interactive. I come on here. I tell you my favorites in the comments. You go into detail about why you like the people you like, right? That's how it goes. So anyway, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. I'm losing my voice already, and it's first thing in the morning. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, and our Cameo page. Thank you in advance for all your support there, and we'll see you soon here with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Stay tuned. Ranking the albums of Corrosion of Conformity in just a little bit. Till then, have a good one, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.